This is going to be another quick video for MS 548 and TextBlob implementation in Python. And what's going to be a little bit different about this video is the whole point of this video is to show how the program that I did last time can be easily changed over when you're using APIs. So the first thing I'll do is we'll take a look at the program that I did last time, which had different functionality. And in this video, in this program, what we did is we did part of speech tagging, correcting spelling, pluralizing, sentiment analysis, and then we did a list of the parts of speech. And I'll go ahead and run this one to show what this looks like. Okay, now that we're running, just like we talked about, here are all the functions that this does according to this list of the parts of speech that you would see in the beginning. So I demonstrated this in the last video, so we're not going to go into each of these. But essentially, this program was written using the TextBlob API, and we'll show now how we can change that to use different calls in that API to include different functions. The first thing we'll look at is still in the old program. You can see we still have the tab controls, we still have the labels, we've got the functions defined for each of the functions that we're going to use, and then we've got clearing the input, clearing the output, and finally each of the tabs. Now when we change over, what you'll notice is in the old one we had the tab and then the command which linked to the tab. When we switch over to the new one, what you can see is now we've included these other three new API calls: language identification, making lowercase, and singularizing words. So what we've done is we've changed each of the functions. You can tell they're very similar, but what they're doing is they're changing which call to TextBlob it's making, and the output is very similar. So I'm reusing a lot of that same code, so I didn't have to rewrite the whole program. When we get down into here, notice we only have 3 input, 3 output. We were able to get rid of number 4 and 5. We were able to use the check valid input as identically as it was, as well as the pop-up message. The main change here is we changed the name of the labels. We fixed the any label text, and this is what changes. So depending on which tab we want to have what function, those change. And you can see it's very simple. So if we run this one, you can see we've got these 3 different things. So now I didn't actually change anything when it comes to how the GUI works or any of that, or the GUI works. But what I've done is made different functions that plug into each one. So this first one is language identification. If we do just hello, it's going to come up as English. And you can tell down here I'm still having it do my error checking. So all of that is working the same. If we change this to a different language, there's Spanish or Espanol, German or Dutch, and so that all works. Now, why would we want a language identification in a commercial application? We may want a way that we can auto-determine how a person is entering the input and change the way that the program reacts accordingly. So that might be a good use for a language ID from TextBlob. Make lowercase. If I scream in all caps hello, this will come back and it'll make everything all lowercase. If I came in here and change the case throughout, same thing would happen, all lowercase. Why would this be useful? This could be useful to process input so that everything is one way, in other words, lowercase, so that it can be all stored in a database with similarly, so you don't have uppercase, lowercase, and vice versa. There's also other ways you can do with, I think you can use uppercase as well. So you can choose which of the API calls to make. And the last one is this singularize. So for instance, if I put in trees, process that, it makes it singular. The interesting thing about this is it doesn't do a very simple singularize, so it doesn't just take the S off. It will actually tell you the singular version of that particular word. So octopi, octopus. So it actually does have a library of words that it banks on. So the purpose of this and the reason why you might singularize as well is in a commercial application, so you can expect a certain type of input and always know that the word you're getting is singular. So I think all of these are very valuable. Language identification, lowercasing an input and making it singular. In the last one, I also showed pluralize. So there's ways that we can do that. So this is really how do we process input. So this was a very simple program that we did. The whole point was that by keeping the same library, which is TextBlob, I'm able to use other of these functions like the detect, like lower, which is the one from TextBlob, and then finally this last one, which is singularize. So it's very easy once you have a framework of a program to change the API calls you make. And that was the point of this video. So any other questions, please let me know.